Hello, I'm Robert Dukes, and the topic I'm discussing is GMOs. So to get started off, if you guys don't know what GMOs are, they're genetically modified organisms, such as plants and animals. And according to the USDA, 92% of corn and 94% of soybean is genetically engineered. And excuse me. And furthermore, to show how GMOs are pretty much incorporated within all of our supermarkets, I found that 75% of processed food on supermarket shelves is genetically modified. And you can also notice with those non-GMO labels, that's how you know the foods that aren't GMOs. And the genes, I mean the food actually is genetically modified by gene splicing techniques from biotechnology, and these modifications are man-made and don't occur in nature, don't occur naturally. And the majority of GMO crops currently on the market have been genetically engineered to produce their own pesticides and withstand herbicides that normally would kill them. And for my main proposition is that GMOs are unsafe for human consumption and the environment. And I'll be talking about how GMOs failed to be proven safe and how they're not safe for the environment as well. So on the topic of how they have failed to have been proven safe, is that a study done in 2014 showed that an estimated 1,783 studies have been conducted since 2002 concerning the safety of GMOs, but no long-term studies have been done to adequately assess the health risks related to GMOs. And for definition of a long-term study is within 5 or 10 years, and that has not been done yet. Also, GMO corn has been engineered in a laboratory to produce its own tissues and pesticides. So corn, as you guys all know, it's involved in pretty much almost any food product you can find with corn syrup or just the seeds in general. And when that's producing its own pesticides, you're essentially eating the corn's pesticides. Also, the biotech industry has created an astounding number of organisms that are not produced by nature. If you are familiar with frankenfoods or the term frankenfoods, it's basically the combining of these genes to produce a bigger, more likely, more alluring food. And these include potatoes with bacteria genes, super pigs with human growth genes, fish with cattle growth genes, tomatoes with flounder genes, corn with bacteria genes, and thousands of other altered engineered plants, animals, and insects. Also, the federal government has not mandated that genetically modified organisms have been proven safe for their use in food. On the contrary, 64 other countries label their foods GEs, and the same companies that fight GMO labeling in the US reformulate or label GMOs in the foods they sell overseas. So they either change the formula when they are exporting their goods, or they just label them. And also, senior scientists at Consumers Union and Authority of Genetic Engineering, Michael Hansen, says that scientists around the world agree that GMOs have potential to introduce allergens and create other unintended changes that may affect health. So these are obviously at risk for you. GMOs are dangerous to your health because they do pose a health risk. And also, like with any other food, the chemicals stay within your blood, as you all know. So with this, the GMO, the genetically modified organism, is just staying within your blood system, and no study has been done to show whether that could pose a serious health risk. On to my second topic is that GMOs are not environmentally friendly. And according to the USDA, more than 61.2 million acres of U.S. farmland are infested with weeds that are resistant to Roundup, which has been the world's best-selling weed killer for more than 30 years. And if you are familiar with Roundup, you are familiar with Monsanto, who does sell their product to enhance the resistance to weeds. And this also is what led to an increase in herbicide and an increase in herbicide within the past 20 years for GMO corn and soybeans. Also, as GMO corn is gaining resistance against these herbicides, they are using more of it, and more chemicals are being put into the corn and the food, well, not the corn and the soybeans for the protection and longevity of the food to preserve it. And also because of all these chemicals and pesticides that are being used within the GMO corn, bees are becoming endangered because bees, as you all know, they pollinate and they cross-pollinate with other flowers, and that's affecting how they travel from plant to plant because they are carrying these pesticides with them, and it is affecting the other plants too as well, and it's making them more resistant to pesticide as well. So yeah, and that's why GMOs are unsafe, because they have failed to be proven safe, and they are hurting the environment because of all the pesticides and chemicals and toxins that are being put into our foods. Thank you.
Sorry about the extra vowel at the end of your name. I didn't mean to do that. Your claim is identified early on. It's got multiple parts to it, so you need to simplify that claim. The multiple parts basically turn out to be the two secondary points, so you do have a preview there that's pretty easy to follow. When you get to the first point in the body of the speech, it's signposted relatively clearly, and you give a good explanation of background information on a number of ideas and concepts. There are lots of, there are references to lots of studies and claims that there's no long-term study, and I don't really have any source that I can attribute that to. There's a claim about all the products that are genetically modified. There were corn and pigs and potatoes and all that stuff. And again, I don't doubt that that's true, but I got no citation. The 64 countries that require the labeling, that should be factual data. I don't think that's too controversial, but it wouldn't hurt to do the citation. And why there isn't labeling here, I think you do need some information on that. The one place that I got a source citation was Hansen, who provides us with some risk of allergens, and that's about as far as it goes. Everything on the second point is mostly asserted, and I think that that's really problematic. Again, I think there's factual data here that wouldn't be hard to cite, but there are a lot of claims that are being presented, and if those are claims of experts, then the expert's opinion might be valid at supporting those points, but if they're just inferences and there isn't any data to support them, that's a little bit problematic. Right at the very end, you add in an argument about bees being endangered, and I didn't hear any information or explanation about how bees are affected by the GMOs, why there is a link here and how it's wiping out the bees, or what the danger is to doing those kinds of things. So I'm not denying that bees are endangered. I just don't know. And I certainly don't know if they're endangered because of genetically modified organisms. I thought you did a pretty good job speaking to the audience, looking up at us and trying to connect with us. And a little over time, but it wasn't too dramatic. All right. Thank you.